Hello, my friend, and welcome. I'm Daryl Urbanski, and today I have something special for you. What you're about to hear today isn't part of what we usually do. Today, I'd like to spend some personal time with you and for us to get to know each other better. So, to start, I'll be sharing some of my life stories with you, plus introducing you to some of the grandfathers of my business acumen. In fact, the next few weeks, I'll be introducing you to the grandfathers of my education, plus, you're going to get select never released recordings of people interviewing me where I give some of my best business and life advice ever. We all learn from various people we know for various amounts of time. Some people we share just a single impactful moment together, others, a full weekend. And some of us have people in our lives who have always been there, always guiding us, and always sharing our paths. Well, I would like to share some of these people who have guided me with you. Your life really can change based on the things you learn and the people you meet. So please enjoy this special series of classic and never released recordings in this 10-part interview series. Enjoy.
Hold on to those afterburners, Fire Nation. John Lee Doom is here, and I am fired up to bring you our featured guest today, Daryl Urbanski. Daryl, are you prepared to ignite?
I'm prepared to ignite.
Yes. Daryl is the founder and president of bestbusinesscoach.ca, is best known for his ability to create seven-figure automated income streams from scratch. A Canadian turned SoCal, he has quickly climbed the entrepreneurial ladder, gaining respect from thousands of small business owners worldwide. Daryl, I've given our listeners just a little overview, so take a minute. Tell us about you personally, because we want to get to know you. Then give us an overview of your business.
It's funny because I feel bad talking about myself in the sense of bragging, but as far as what we do, I mean, for the most part, bestbusinesscoach.ca is built off of years of trial and error. Ever since I was a kid, I always had this really positive self-image of what it meant to be a business owner. I always felt that business was about solving problems for people and getting compensated accordingly. From my uncle. I mean, he used to have people come, and I always felt like he was kind of like the Godfather, but without all the violence and the drugs and that part, because people would come and they'd just be really grateful for what he'd done for them. And so in my head, I just had that positive self-image. And so since I was a kid, I've just been trying to make it and break it. And I've failed, like multiple times, like any successful entrepreneur. And I've tried so many different business models along the way. And now what I'm doing, it's just built off of kind of a really solid succession of wins that just I keep doubling down, and it keeps working. So right now, like you said, we're building seven-figure automated funnels. Got 4 or 5 clients that I built funnels for that really were only generating somewhere between $4,000 to $12,000 a month. But then I had a couple of clients where I really feel like I've doubled down and figured it out, and been able to hit those 7-figure number marks, which definitely feels good.
Well, Daryl, that's enough to start, my friends. And believe me, that's why we have you on Entrepreneur on Fire, because you can start bragging a little bit at the beginning, and you need to, because we're going to be dragging out some dirt on you, my friend. We're going to be talking about some failures. We're going to be talking about some tough moments. So get in the good stuff while you can. And that's what Entrepreneur on Fire, Daryl, is all about. It's about the journey of our guests. And Daryl, you're our featured guest today. So we're going to really do a deep dive into your journey. But before we do, we always start Entrepreneur on Fire off with a success quote to really get that motivational ball rolling, Daryl. So take it away.
Sure. Well, I've got 3 things that I think really, I probably even have a 4th quote, but I think it really, the mental game is so important, because I was just talking about this. I just spoke in Vegas, and I was talking with some of the people at the conference, and so many people, they are their biggest obstacle. I mean, I took a cab ride from my hotel to where I was speaking, and along the way, the cab driver told me he'd moved to Vegas because it was as good as anywhere to die, that he was a weakling, that like he just had and I don't even think he realized how much negative self-talk he had coming out. So,
and think about how many times he probably says that every day to passengers.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like reaffirming to himself, and then he looks for excuses to believe it. And it's so not true. So one of my first quotes is, hard work will always beat talent when talent refuses to work hard. I think that it's really important to have a good work ethic, but work alone won't get you there. I mean, a lot of us know people that work really, really hard and don't really get any results. Our parents, if you're like me, my parents have worked really hard their whole lives and they've done okay, but some people I know, haven't worked nearly as much and have been extremely successful. So the next quote would be with Claude Hopkins, where the man who wins out and survives does so only because of superior science and strategy. So I think that that's a key component that you need to have as a baseline. You have to have that hard work ethic, but you also need to make sure that you're using scientific principles or at least some sort of benchmark, so you can, like a homing missile. When a homing missile is fired, it's got a goal and it starts going there, but every millisecond, it's checking and self-correcting where it is because it's always getting blown off course. So need to have that, need to have strategy because, you can spend a lot of energy going nowhere. So those two. And the other quote that I really like is, and I don't know who said it, but every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up and it knows that it must outrun the fastest lion or it will be killed. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up and it knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. So the moral of the story is it doesn't matter if you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun comes up, you better be running. And so, I love that quote because that's it. It doesn't matter. You had a bad day yesterday. That's great. Guess what? Today's a new day. And so the last quote would be, work until you don't need to introduce yourself. And so again, I think if you combine those, that really it just embodies for me, I think a mentality and a philosophy that's really helped me in my career, at least. And the only thing to add to that would be to surround yourself with like-minded people, because that's the other part. You can have these qualities, but if you are surrounded by people who are just holding you back or aren't encouraging or they don't even necessarily need to be negative people, but they're just not going in the same direction you are, that on its own can slow you down.
I mean, Daryl, there's so many things I could pull out of that because every one of those quotes is so impactful for every entrepreneur's journey. But what I really do want to laser beam focus on for Fire Nation, our listeners today, is really the ability that we have this day and age, more than any other time in the world, to leverage our skills, to scale our knowledge. And Daryl mentioned how his parents and my parents too have worked so hard, and they've definitely achieved some levels of success. But when you really look at automating systems, when you really look at taking your knowledge and getting it into that right funnel, into that right leverage point, it's incredible to see what can happen on so many different levels. And Daryl, that'll be a great theme for us to kind of continue on throughout this interview. But what we're doing right now is we're taking the spotlight and we're shining it onto you, Daryl Urbanski, because I want to talk about your journey, Daryl. And you're having incredible success right now here in San Diego, rocking and rolling, but it always wasn't that way. So talk to us, share with Fire Nation a time you failed, a time that you just fell flat in your face, and the lessons you learned.
They say success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan. And so everybody wants to talk about the successes, but I think most people in their entrepreneur career and their business career, unless you are part of a winning team and you're, through almost like an apprenticeship, and that's where you've got this winning track record again and again and again until you go on your own. And even then, I don't think you can be a true entrepreneur unless you've had to face failure and come through that fire. But for myself, even sometimes when you're successful, here's a great example is I remember when I was a kid, when I was just really young, I got into babysitting, just trying to make money. And I was successful at it, but then it was still a failure because I couldn't, I felt like, great, I was making, money, but my schedule was full. I wasn't able to see my friends. Some people, they get so concerned about even just being able to make a sale or, get any customers that they don't think out the strategy. So a friend of mine, and I'm sorry, I know I've kind of walked away from my failure, but a friend of mine she wanted to launch an info product business because she wanted the leverage of not having to be trading dollars for hours, but she wasn't making the sales that she wanted yet. And so instead of improving her funnel, she started selling her time for consulting. And so again, she had been successful, quote unquote, because she was making more money, but now she's working 60 hours a week. So a talk with a friend of mine, we really have this belief that, $8,000 a month hands-free automated income is worth 50, 60, 70,000 a month if you're working 60, 90 hours a week. And that's from myself having failed for me, the biggest failure I think that I had was right after I moved back from Tokyo. I wanted to get into, some automated income. And I'd spent some time in Africa and I really started to see, I just learned a lot through being in another culture as an outsider and observing it. And I realized that vending machines would be a great way, it'd be passive income. It's a great way to set up some form of passive income, if it's a candy machine or a pop machine, whatever. And when I was in Japan, there was this massage chair that was in the mall nearby where I lived. And my girlfriend at the time and I used to go by it all the time and use it. And when I came back to Canada, all the chairs here were, they were just really pieces of junk, and they hurt you more often than they helped. So I worked with Panasonic, and I got this deal to get these $10,000 massage chairs that are certified to be the equivalent of a chiropractic adjustment. I got them at wholesale. I had a whole add-on built so it would, accept payments, coin payments, and then operate for a certain period of time. But what I didn't think through was the market. I did that where I am now. I'm visiting my family in Canada, in Kingston, Ontario. And what I didn't realize is that there are already 2 chairs in the 2 busiest locations. And for a business like that, you need foot traffic. Any business, you need a starving crowd. You can't operate a business in a vacuum. And so I went through all this ordeal. I spent this money. I developed this technology, and I just come back from Japan. And so, for me, it was like I sunk $10,000, $15,000 into a venture that I realized I couldn't do anything with in the city that I was in. Because the locations where I would want to put my chair were unavailable, and I didn't have the means to travel to take that around. Because that was the other part of it as well. I hadn't thoroughly planned it out, and that's where I think so many business owners fail. I think myself, even when I have the failures that I have had, it was because I dreamed up this beautiful idea alone in my room, when that's not really how business should be done. People like to draw analogies between business and hunting. And so if we stick with that analogy, when you would have a hunting tribe and they would want to go feed their families, if they were in a new terrain or if they didn't know what they could already hunt, they would go with the hunting party out into the wilderness or the jungle or wherever, and they would just observe. And they would just sit there for a period of time and try to see, what tracks are there, what tufts of fur around, where's the fecal matter, where's the half-eaten food, and they just try to observe, and what is this animal, what's its routine, what's its habit, how many of them exist. And then together as a group, they would go back and they would strategize and plan, how are we going to hunt this thing, how are we going to trap it and kill it, and then how are we going to transport it back here, and what are we going to do once we get it here. And that's really a foundation of market research. And so my biggest failure was I hadn't done the market research. I sunk a ton of money in this thinking that it would be great because it was something that I was passionate about and love in. And I was thinking about myself more than thinking about the people that I was going to be serving.
Well, Daryl, I love this analogy, and I think Fire Nation really needs to think about this for a second in terms of the real world, because it's so easy to see. If you were in Africa and you were a tribe, you would never be going out to just a random place, building some kind of tree fort where you would be looking to hunt for food or whatever you may be doing without first scouting the area, without first actually seeing if this is where these different gazelles graze, or these different lions roamed, or there was a water source, or there was actually a trail path going somewhere. That would never happen, because you would, like that lion that runs slower than gazelle, you would starve to death if you did that. Yeah. And if you applied that analogy, Fire Nation, to today, why would you ever go into a little closet and never do any outside research and just build a product or build a service without actually going out into the universe, into the real world, and engaging with real people, real potential clients, and scouting out that area? So I love that analogy, Daryl. It fits in perfectly with your quote about the lions and the gazelles, which I'm going to use, by the way, for my new Quotes on Fire podcast I'm about to launch. So you've inspired me there. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And Daryl, you summed it up great, and you gave a great analogy. And I really want Fire Nation to realize, get out there in the real world, interact your products and your services with your potential clients. The more you can do that, the more feedback you can get, the better that you can pivot, and the quicker that you can actually get the right product or service to market. And Daryl, we could go on about this all day because it's so valuable for Fire Nation, but I want to shift to another story. And let's not get distracted this time. I really want you to laser focus on a time, Daryl, that you, Daryl Urbanski, had a light bulb moment, had an aha moment. And Daryl, take us right to that moment. We want you to tell that story when this aha moment just hit you in the side of the head. Tell us that story, Daryl, and the steps that you took to turn it into success.
It's a great segue.
Thanks.
And I think that the aha moment for me was just what we just talked about, the power of marketing and the market research and how that has to come before anything
But
else.
take us to when you actually had that aha moment. Like, when did it hit you in the head?
Well, I think I was at a conference, and the guru on the stage had said that, good marketing can sell a non-existent product when bad marketing can't sell free gold. And then it reminded me of what I just went through with my chair, right? I had this great vending machine. The thing, 15 minutes in it would have been worth an hour-long chiropractic appointment, hour-long massage or a chiropractic adjustment. And so it was this great product, but it kind of died or fizzled out because it didn't have any teeth to it. And then I started thinking about going backwards, just about marketing and what is marketing, and could I be any good at it? And so for me, the aha moment was that I've actually been marketing a lot of my life. And even before I even knew what it was, I mean, when I was 17, I did this program, Katimvik. I got to travel and work around Canada, 3 months on the BC, 3 months in Alberta, 3 months in Quebec. And I wanted to go back to BC, and I just turned 18, and I went online. And this is I'm 31 now, so this is years ago. But I went online and I found online classifieds, and I called up some lady and I rented a room in her house, and I didn't have work there. So I went on to the Chamber of Commerce's website and I just copied and pasted all the businesses' email addresses. And I didn't even know what I was doing. And I had a 3 email drip campaign. I had my cover letter and my resume in the first one, and a PowerPoint video in the second one, and a follow-up in the third. And I spammed them to try and get, it is spam, but I just, I emailed them, messaged them, trying to get.
Did you double up them in first, Daryl?
That's right.
That is spam. The Canada Spam Act. We're all well aware of it.
Back in the day, yeah. Back in the day, it was the Wild West. Didn't matter. I was 18. I needed some work. I'm moving out on my own, and and it worked. When I got out there, I had all these interviews lined up because I'd done that. And then another time, when I was in Japan.
Well, Daryl, I'm gonna break in here. I'm gonna bring you back to the moment that you had that aha moment. You had that aha moment while that guru was talking on stage. What did you do?
Well, that's where I kind of really started to think about marketing, and I kind of vowed to myself that I would do whatever it took to really master this and implement it, because I was the track record of instances where I could see that I'd used marketing and had success. And then it really dawned on me that was the missing ingredient. That's where, I'd had little success here and there, but for the most part, I hadn't had any 7-figure success. I hadn't had any major successes that I would want to write home about, because I'd been missing that key component. So I just dove in. I mean, I started reading the books. I started listening to the audio tapes, the seminars. I started trading programs with friends. I remember I used to feel so proud when I'd fall asleep and my bed would be full of books, because I'd feel like the knowledge would be seeping through my skin.
That's how I feel when I fall asleep with Think and Grow Rich playing in my earbuds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. I wouldn't allow any downtime without it being everything had to be relevant. It all had to be used for the purpose of building and expanding my knowledge. And I think that it's really important. There's 2 different types of education. There's the education that you get in hopes that you'll use it someday, and there's the education what you get because you're going to use it right now in the present. And that's where I try to live the most. I obviously I'm a student of life and I like to keep learning, but often whatever it is that I'm thinking about, whatever problem I see is within the next 10 steps, so to speak, that's what I'm reading about. That's what I'm learning about. That's what I'm asking questions about. Because there's this thing where they say, you need to read something 7 times to memorize it. But I think that part of that's BS, because if you're lost and you're trying to get to your friend's house or something, and you pull over and you are missing information to complete your goal, and you ask someone, hey, how do I get here? And they go, hey, well, you go straight, and at the 3rd light, you turn right, and then you make your first left. You don't need to recite that 7 times. You don't need to set up cue cards and stare at a wall and it clicks because you need it. It fits it's the puzzle piece that you're missing. And so I really kind of try to take that approach to my own study and learning. But at the same time to make sure that I don't waste any time that could be used.
So Fire Nation, this is what we really need to focus on. The most precious resource that we have is time.
Time.
And when Daryl made the decision to stop being an amateur and start being professional and a pro in everything that he does, he wasn't going to waste any of his time. He wasn't going to go for a walk with his dog and not have an audiobook in listening to something. He wasn't going to be reading Us Weekly magazine as he fell asleep at night. He was going to take the time that he had, the most precious resource, and continually be moving forward with his knowledge, with his just intimacy of any topic that he was looking to improve himself upon. So Fire Nation, kind of look at your day. Like, how do you spend your morning commutes to work? Hopefully you're commuting right now to work or maybe to wherever, and you're listening to this, so you're using it very well. I applaud you. But, think about the different times in your life. I go to the grocery store, Daryl. I have headphones in and I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to audiobooks. And, I have people that, all the time, like the checkout lady's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, sorry, what? And she's like, paper or plastic. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I was like listening to something. She's like, oh, what music are you listening to? I'm like, what's music? I don't know what music is really. And so it's just, we have this opportunity to Fire Nation. It's all around us. This resource, podcasting, is a free resource. There's some amazingly cheap resources out there through Audible and audiobooks for books. I mean, I just love your message, Daryl. You decided to turn pro, my friend, and you did because you made the decision to do so. So I wanted you to tell a really quick story, Daryl. I want it to be straight to the point. And again, I want to be there with you when this happens. What was your proudest entrepreneurial moment?
I think the proudest moment for me was, you mentioned Think and Grow Rich, and Think and Grow Rich advocates having your own personal mission statement that you read morning and night. And I had set one, and I'll tell you what it is. I mean, I'll generate over $1 million in annual recurring net income by April 14th, 2014. I will sell ideas and information products, digital and or paper and ink, to provide large groups of people suffering from serious or urgent problems access to solutions from world-class experts. Using the T times C equals money formula, I will employ automated systems to generate leads, nurture prospects, make sales, fulfill orders, provide aftercare, and upsell, giving me a financially secure, long, happy, healthy, joyful, and wealthy life. And my proudest moment was earlier this year when I sat down, and I honestly felt a little deflated because my bank account didn't have 7 figures in it. And I was working as marketing director for a company in Rancho Santa Fe. And I was taking a look at this little pet project campaign that I built evenings and weekends on my own kind of initiative. That was, I talked about these other funnels I built. And I realized that it was March and it had already generated net about $1.3 million. And that was the proudest moment because I had set this goal. And I was like, I did it. I was like, it works. This thing I've been working, like all the pieces clicked, and I started going through what I'd done differently versus the other funnels. And I lost a week. I didn't lose is the wrong word, but I just invested a week in rediscovering what had I done and what was it that made the difference between the other funnels I built and this funnel that made all the difference. And that was the proudest moment. I mean, that was, as an entrepreneur, it was just, for me, I was so ecstatic. I remember calling people and sharing the news, and I was on cloud nine. And that's definitely the proudest moment.
Fire Nation, what is your mission statement? Are you kind of scratching your head right now thinking about one? And that could be a reason that you're not fulfilling all the goals that you may have. You need to say it to make it true. It needs to become part of your everyday life. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, I mean, he puts it so eloquently in the form of verbalizing it morning and night. Daryl did it. It got him there. Nothing is more important than having a goal that you are verbalizing and following it. You have to say it to make it real. And Daryl, let's bring things to today, to present times. I want to talk about Daryl Urbanski right now. What is one thing in your business that has you just most fired up right now?
The thing I'm the most excited about is that now that I feel that it's like anything. Once you know to do something, you just want to be able to do it bigger, better, badder. So what I'm most excited about is just the projects I'm working on, the clients that I'm working with, my own funnels that I'm building. Right now, I think like even my own biggest frustration is I just want to get it all done faster. I know it's like building a house that you've already built before. You just want to get it done, so that's, I mean, it's just such a good feeling. I don't even know how to answer that, John, only because where I'm at, I just feel so good about everything. My focus is almost on preserving and just like, not missing any of the little details.
Daryl, it's actually interesting that you say that because I have people asking me all the time. They're saying, John, like, what's your goal for Entrepreneur on Fire? Like, where are you taking this? Like, what's your 1, 3, 5-year goal? And I'm very forward thinking. I'm a big believer in planning things out, of always focusing on the future and doing things along those lines. But a lot of times the reality is that, listen, we are living this every single day. And the more present I can be in today, this very moment, is more powerful. Like, Daryl, when you're talking, if I'm thinking about what my 1-year goal is, when it comes time for me to kind of break back in and say something, I'm not going to be able to give as present of an answer as I need to Fire Nation to make this the most impactful interview that we possibly can. And, Fire Nation, if you're listening to this right now and you're scrolling your emails or you're, checking your Facebook messages, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to make the most of this content that we're sharing with you today. So I love being present, Daryl. I love living in the moment. I love being able to be just adaptable to different things that are happening so quickly in this world. So I'm with you, brother. I have a hard time answering those questions, and I am on an average of 8 other interviews every other week, so I get it quite often. So yeah. I hear you, my man. And listen, Daryl, welcome to the lightning round, where you get to share incredible resources and mind-blowing answers. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
What was holding you back from becoming an entrepreneur?
2 things. And the first one was not understanding that problems are markets. I kept looking for people. And so was holding me back was I just wasn't getting any traction. And it was because I was focused on the wrong things. So I really had to realize that business is about solving problems for the world and for large groups of people. So that was the first. And the next part was a quote that I heard from Drayton Bird, where he just said that, the purpose of business is to locate a prospect and turn that prospect into a customer, and then make that customer your friend. So what was really holding me back was the mental game and not really having clear sight in what I was doing and not getting any traction or any success. Feeling like I was fumbling in the dark and trying to figure it out.
Problems are markets to Fire Nation. I love that way of putting it, Daryl. It's a kind of a mind shift, and I do like it because Fire Nation, if you can create solutions to problems, that's a market right there. I mean, for me, I love engaging with my audience, finding out from them what their pain points are, what they're struggling with, and then finding what those problems are, and then creating solutions for them. And you can do that just by going out, by listening, by reading magazines, by reading blog posts, by going to different products and services and looking at the reviews. What are those 1 and 2 star reviews? Like, what are people not happy about with the solution that somebody's created for this problem? And Daryl, what is the best advice you've ever received?
To get a mentor and surround myself with like-minded people, and not just meet people, but to really embed yourself in a community of people that are, that are ambitious and are trying to go where you want to go, that'll push you. Jim Rohn has the quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that has just been ever evident. And every time, I just surrounded myself with different people, it just has had profound effect on my life. It's a huge effect. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice that I've had.
Daryl, that quote is the most spoken of quote on Entrepreneur on Fire by myself. I actually say it in every single interview. We're about to get to that part, and you'll see, because I just love it. It's so true in every single way, shape, and form. And kind of the visualization, Daryl, I like to give Fire Nation when we think about this is, picture this bus that you're on, this bus of life, and you're hanging out with people on this bus, and you look around like, who are these people? I mean, I'm sure you like them. I'm sure you love some of them. I'm sure they're powerful people and they do great things for you on a lot of levels. But if you really evaluate the people that are around you, and then you really ask yourself the question, what would happen if I opened up the back of the bus, that door, and just kind of scooted out like the bottom 4 or 5 people, and then just close the door, then open up the front and just let like 4 or 5 just like amazingly inspiring, motivated, positive people enter that bus? How would that change? Would the air clear a little bit because there's less smoke? I mean, would the kind of nagging and complaining stop a little bit because now people are excited and talking about things that they're creating instead of things that are holding them back? I mean, just think about that, because this is your life bus. You have the choice to open and close the doors to it. And Daryl, share one of your personal habits that you believe contributes to your success.
Sure. So, the first one is just that I work every single day. Every single day. There's no days off. I mean, I might not work all day, but I work every single day. This happened when I was a teenager, I was on the phone with a friend and I was looking out the front window and he was saying, he'd been working so hard or he'd had a rough week and he was just taking the day off. And I remember I was watching this bird and squirrel kind of hunt for food and I realized
they're not taking time off.
Yeah, they're never like, man, it's been so hard to find food and eat this week. I'm taking the day off. Those predators, they can come bug me on Monday. And it really clicked for me. I was like, that's it. Like we might have dominated the planet, but we're still in a jungle and between ourselves. And you just have to find what you're passionate about and just relentlessly work on it every single day. You have to be beating on your craft. And that's my own personal habit. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. If it's the holidays, if it's Christmas, I need to move 1% closer to my goal. I need to read a book, like I said, that's going to help me solve a problem. I need to do an interview like this. I need to just reach out to someone, and offer to help them if that's a beneficial relationship to both of us. Every single day I need to do something that's pushing the ball forward.
So Daryl, you have somebody in your camp. That person is me. And I get asked all the time, like, John, like you launched your podcast like less than 2 years ago. You won Best of iTunes. You're one of the top ranked business podcasts. Like you had over 7 million down. Like, how have you done it? Like what do you attribute all your success to? And the only answer that I can give, Daryl, because it's the only true answer, is I work harder than any other podcaster. Literally, it's just working harder. I was worse by a long shot than so many podcasters when I first started because I was inexperienced. I was robotic. I wasn't comfortable behind the microphone. But if you want to do, and there's no better way of doing a podcast than to do it literally 7 days a week. Your episode 672 for a reason, Daryl, because I've done an episode every single day since I launched. And it's done wonders. And it's all about working hard, and there's no substitute for it. Read Stephen Pressfield's book, Do the Work, in Fire Nation. You'll thank me later. So Daryl, do you have an internet resource like an Evernote that you're just in love with you can share with our listeners?
For me, the tool that I'm in love with right now is Ghostery, Ghostery. It's a free add-on for Firefox. And why I love it is because you can go to any website and it tells you what they're using. Ooh. Are they using Visual Website Optimizer? Do they have Facebook conversion pixel tracking, stuff like that? So for me, it's just, we used to have to, you could always do it, but you'd have to click and view page source and scroll through the code and have to kind of,
Control F and find all that weird stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd be like, who's this? What's this guy using? Is he, is he using click, what is he using? Clicktail or Crazy Egg? What? Oh, wow. He's got, now that's a great tool because as I surf, it just pops up and I find myself just going into loops sometimes. Just what's that tool? Oh, wow. What does that do? Oh, wait, what is it? Because now you're on their page.
You got to be careful at the same time. That can be your worst enemy and your best friend all at once. Well, Fire Nation, you can find the links to this resource and everything that we've been chatting about in today's episode at eofire.com/Daryl Urbanski. And Daryl, if you could recommend just one book for our listeners, what would it be?
It would have to be Think and Grow Rich. If you only had one book to put you on the path to success, that's the book. And one thing that frustrates me is I remember I'll suggest that book to people. And they'll be like, "Hey, I read it. What should I read next?" And I'm like, "Well, did you do it? Like, did you implement it?"
Right.
Well, no, but
what's your mission statement? What's the mission statement? Did you read it?
Yeah. Like, oh, well, no, but I'm done. I'm ready for the next. No, but that's it. Like, do it. Like, if you've only implemented 3%, reread the book and get another 3%. And yeah. So if you only have one book, that would be it.
Love it. Well, Fire Nation, I know that you love audio. So if you haven't already, you can get an amazing audiobook just like this one for free at eofirebook.com. That's eofirebook.com. And Daryl, this next question's the last of the lightning round, but boy, is it a doozy. Imagine you woke up tomorrow morning in a brand new world, identical to Earth, but you knew no one. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have, your food and shelter taken care of, but all you have is a laptop and $500. What would you do in the next 7 days?
The next 7 days, the first thing I would try to do would be to surround myself with highly ambitious, competitive, good-natured, and ethical people to push me. And then the next thing I would do is I would look for someone who, if I only had $500, you can't do a whole lot. I would probably look for someone who had a phenomenal product or service that really just didn't market it well. They already had a horse running around the track, but they needed someone that could, if I had all my skills and knowledge, I would
But they
find
need a
someone.
jockey with a little strap to just like whack.
Exactly.
Whack.
Yeah.
Look at that analogy. I just came up with that.
No, but that's exactly it. I mean, because there's so many people out there, they've got these amazing products, and they think if I just make a better mousetrap, people will beat a door to my path, beat a path to my door. And so, if I woke up who I am today and somewhere else, and I didn't know anyone, first thing I would want to do is surround myself with people that are going to push me to be better, keep me sharp. And then the next thing I would want to do is find someone who's got a phenomenal, life-changing, world-improving product or service, and just use my marketing prowess to really get behind them and turn that $5,000 into $5 million, or $500 into $5 million.
Well, Daryl, when you get back to SD, you, me, Del Mar Racetrack, we'll see some real jockeys in action. And thank you for being so open, so inspiring, so transparent with Fire Nation today. And your plethora of quotes is just arming me for quotes on fire like nothing else could. Give Fire Nation one parting piece of guidance, share the best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
You just got to believe in yourself. You really have to. This is another quote, but I just saw this. I love it.
I have my pen out. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah. But Jim Carrey, he gave his graduation speech and he said, "My father taught me that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well go for what you want." And I think that that's the only parting piece of advice. I mean, if you've got this life and we don't know what's going to happen afterwards, why would you waste it? Like you can fail. You can be trapped and suck at something that you just settled for. So you might as well chase your dreams and give it everything you got. So that's
God, I love that.
That's definitely the advice I would give. Best way to connect with me, probably Facebook or LinkedIn to look me up, Daryl Urbanski. You can check out bestbusinesscoach.ca. Those are all good things. And was there anything else?
That was it, my friend. And Fire Nation does know, Daryl, that they are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And you've been hanging out, Fire Nation, with Daryl and myself today. So keep up the heat. And Daryl, Fire Nation is well where they can find the links to everything, your contact information, resource book, you name it. eofire.com. Type in Daryl, Daryl. In the search bar, and his show notes page will pop right up. And Daryl, thank you for being so incredibly generous with your time, expertise, experience. Fire Nation salutes you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Awesome. Thank you, John.